Hello again. The government made much of the fact that for 11 days between April the 19th and April the 30th, no illegal immigrants were detected crossing the English Channel to this country. This was attributed to the announcement of the tough new scheme under which asylum seekers would supposedly be whisked off to East Africa as soon as they landed in Kent. Since nobody with a grain of intelligence believes that this will ever happen, it seemed to many of us unlikely that Home Secretary Priti Patel's deal with Rwanda had the least connection with the sudden lull in crossings. More likely was the fact that for 10 or 11 days the sea was rough and winds were high in the channel, and that it was this which had been deterring anybody from trying his luck in a dinghy. Lo and behold, when the winds died down and the sea became calm again, it was business as usual. On Sunday, 7 boats full of young men were spotted by the armed forces and duly guided ashore. 250 people in total. Then yesterday, more than 100 arrived. The dinghies are back in business, and predictions are that there will be twice as many arriving in Britain this year as there were in 2021. I'm guessing that most viewers will probably know by now that that policy announced by Priti Patel about pushing boats back across the channel has actually been officially abandoned now. The government made a big song and dance about it when it was introduced. They have now announced that it won't happen. It's not lawful. So anybody that was thinking that the armed forces would be doing that can forget all about it. I thought it would be interesting to point out the difference between genuine refugees and these chancers, and to illustrate the point we can look at Denmark. The BBC is accusing Denmark of having double standards and being harsher towards refugees from the Middle East than it is towards those from Europe. But this misses the point entirely. And it's a point that we in Britain should be thinking about. Denmark offered shelter or refuge to a number of people from Syria when a ferocious civil war was being fought in that country. Now that the war is over, Denmark wants these people to go home, and they are outraged at the suggestion. They thought they were there in Denmark for good. I don't know why they would have thought that. They thought they would be able to stay in Europe forever and raise their families there and never go back to their own countries. But why should any country agree to take people on those terms? Denmark offered them refuge from a war, and now that the war is over, there is no reason why they should not return to their own country. The Ukrainian refugees now arriving in Denmark are being offered shelter until the fighting ends in Ukraine, and then they too will be expected to return to their own country. This all seems to me perfectly fair. In the description to this video, I give a link to a BBC report in which they send an Arab to Denmark, a woman working for the BBC's Arabic service, who talks to Syrians living there who are aggrieved that they're now being told it's safe to return to their own country. The refugees turning up in Britain are exactly the same. They're not really seeking refuge from danger at all. If that were the case, then they would have stayed in France, where there is no war raging and they're completely safe. They are coming to this country not because they are escaping from danger, but because they think that this country offers a better standard of living for them than France. They're not refugees at all by any standards. They are safe in France, and then they put themselves deliberately in harm's way by undertaking a hazardous voyage in an inflatable boat through one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world. They are courting danger rather than escaping from it. The present government has no intention, and never did have any intention, of stopping immigration of any kind into Britain. More students from overseas are being given visas to come here, and often they stay on and live here when they finish studying. Millions of Chinese people are being given British passports. Boris Johnson has promised India that many more people from that country can come here, and of course the immigrants crossing the channel are also on the increase. The rate of immigration to this country is accelerating rather than slowing down, and everybody, ordinary people and the government both, are perfectly well aware of it. Do not be deceived by newspaper articles which tell you that the flow of immigrants has slowed down or even halted. It's a lie.